As a legacy of the Big Dig, many still consider the Rose Kennedy Greenway a work in progress. The new parkland has been credited with spurring development and transforming a source of blight into an asset, and that includes turning public space into public art. To talk about some of the recent creations on display is our guest from the Rose Kennedy Greenway Conservancy, the public art curator, Lucas Cowan. Thank you very much for being with us, Lucas.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, talk about the thing that's getting so much attention over the past couple of months here, that thing floating over the Greenway.
As if it were already here by Janet Ackerman. Sure, that is actually our first major commission by the Rose Kennedy Greenway Conservancy. It was part of a public competition that started in 2012. And it took a couple years to complete because of the engineering feat and making of it. The artist is Janet Ackerman. She's a local artist, a Brookline-based artist, but she is known internationally and nationally throughout Europe, Asia, Australia, and the Americas. Most of her work is temporary work. It's made of a fibrous material. It's basically netting. It's all based off of basically Bali fishermen nets. And so this piece is based solely off of Boston itself and the site in which it sits.
Well, I know lots of people are out there taking photos of it
Sure.
with their mobile phones, but I noticed too that my first exposure to the Greenway, I was looking where I was going.
Sure.
Now with this up there, I'm looking up, I'm looking left, I'm looking right. I mean, it's...
That's right. It's actually making you more aware of your surroundings, and that's what we're trying to do with public art, especially on the Greenway, is really change the environment that you think you know so well. It's actually a marketing campaign, a new direction in art, up, to look up. And we also want to challenge the way in which the public understands and thinks about public art. It's not just a bronze statue. It actually can be a fibrous piece of installation that hangs way above you, attached to 3 buildings. And
it actually changes the way things look, because when I'm looking toward the harbor,
Sure.
I'm looking at a building, the Hotel Intercontinental.
Yeah.
I'm saying that building looks different now.
It does, and actually the interesting thing about that, the Intercontinental being part of this, is that it's a mirror. It's a mirrored finish. So the artwork in the sunlight, sometimes you can't see the colors of it, but when you look at the building, you see in all of its glory. So you see the pink, the orange, the green, the white, the black. So it almost acts as a mirage. There's mirages all around you.
Going down toward Chinatown,
Sure.
You have a park there, and you got these sheep.
We do. It's actually part of a new curation that we just started. It's a rotational curation. It'll be happening every year, based around the Chinese zodiac animals. And this year happens to be the year of the sheep, which is somewhat appropriate, I think, for Chinatown. I wanted to pay respect to the culture and Chinatown residents that have been there their whole lives, and also to create a placemaking area for new people that are moving in. And Kyusokyo is a New York based artist. He's a Korean descent, immigrated from Japan about 8 years ago, and he really uses the sheep as a metaphor for wandering, for being herding throughout a city to find a place, shelter, food.
I want to ask you about placemaking. What does that mean exactly?
Oh, some people really like that word and some people don't really like that word. It's a word that's still kind of being in the art world and the arts administration world is kind of being talked about a lot. Placemaking is really a way in which we want people to gather around. We want people to have a sense of community around. And so we use public art kind of as an anchor for that. It's not just to be stared at, it's to be touched, but it's about to be experienced, it's about to be smelt, it's about to be heard. And so we really want placemaking to be part of what the Greenway's mission is.
Well, of course, what you want to do is change the way people use the Greenway. So let's say, example, you might have some parent with children. Parent decides, well, it'd be cool to take kids out here because of this thing floating
Sure.
overhead. But once they get there, they're doing other things too, right?
They are, totally. I mean, again, as we said, it's this idea of looking up, but it's also this idea that we also have arts ambassadors underneath the Greenway Eckelman piece too. They're there to help explain to the public what's going on. They also are there to help interact with the children. So we're going to talk about bubbles. We're going to talk about how you see colors in bubbles. We're going to talk about the way the artwork is created by playing cat's cradle. So there's a ton of things to do, as well as see the sculpture and the public artwork that is throughout the Greenway. Our carousel is one of our most popular attractions that we created and built from hand and from scratch about 2.5 years ago. Our fountains are very popular as well too. So there's a plethora of things to do out on the Greenway.
Well, there's more to public space than landscaping or infrastructure or features, because one of the things we were all afraid of when this was new was that there aren't enough people out there doing stuff.
Sure.
What's been happening since?
Well, we have over 300 free programs each year alone. Our programs department is very, very busy these days. We are a partnering organization. We partner with a lot of cultural and arts-based organizations throughout Boston and Greater Boston to bring interesting and fun things to the Greenway. Up next is one of our larger festivals called Figment, which is a music and light and art-based festival, which is about 2 days on the Greenway. We just started a Movies in the Park, so those are happening throughout the summer. And then a series of other events, pop-up events. We've got our very popular Boston Calling on Dewey Square every Thursday. Come out, listen to some music, have a drink, admire the mural, the Dewey Square mural, the Shanique Smith that's up at the moment. So there's a plethora of going on.
And you also have something down by the Armenian Holocaust Memorial too that people might want to take a look at.
Sure, that you're referring to the actual fountain, the Armenian
right.
fountain. That's it's a really beautiful piece. It's actually been the Armenian Heritage National Park celebrated its 100th anniversary. Celebrated is not its appropriate word, but it's a sculpture that is a fountain, that's a dodecahedron, that every year is changed and configured into a different shape. And this year's shape, because of the 100th year anniversary of the Armenian genocide, the shape was put back into its original configuration and pulled directly apart, really representing that pull of people and what happened to those people 100 years ago.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
The Rose Kennedy Greenway, Lucas Cowan, and of course on July 30th we'll have one more reason to go to the Greenway when the public market opens. We'll have more news in just a moment.